What's up, everybody? This is Michael. When you hear Papa Roach playing Gravity, you know that can only mean one thing. Michael, Graveyard Shift. Wee hours of the dead of night. With your trivia question once again. Had a day off. Man, it felt good. Happy Tuesday. A terrific Tuesday for a terrific group of people. I hope your week's going well. Onward we go, folks. Onward we go. It's a busy time of year. It's a stressful time of year, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I like the routine. Anywho, I digress just a little bit. The answer to the previous trivia question was, of course, if you're a Generation X like me, this was a part of your Saturday morning routine called the Smurfs. Now, the Smurfs were those little blue people who lived on mushroom houses. Absolutely. The Smurfs were the brainchild of a Belgian comic writer and artist named Pierre Colliford. And a lot of people don't know this. This goes back to the 50s, folks. He worked under the pseudonym Peugeot. With a Y, however, the Y sounds like a J. It's Peugeot. I learned that in my research. Interesting character to research, right? So he began making comic strips for daily newspapers after World War II, and one of his main lines was called Johann and Peewit. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that, and I'm sure I mispronounced that in the original trivia question, but if I did, please forgive me. That's my disclaimer. I'm notorious for butchering names. But anywho, I digress again. He introduced a group of small creatures called the Smurfs in a 1958 story called The Magic Flute. And this is where it all started, folks. A lot of people associate the Smurfs with the 1980s, but that's what we do. We Americanize all kinds of stuff and make it more popular, right? We beef it up on steroids and make it popular and so forth. But this has its origins from the 50s. Like I was saying, in a story called The Magic Flute, where these characters would soar in popularity so much so that they would become Peugeot's primary writing material. Right, so these guys, the Smurfs that he created, took on a life of their own. Peugeot would go on to put together his own studio, actually. He was a very successful cartoonist, as the Smurfs became somewhat of an international success throughout the 60s and the 70s, where toys and gadgets and figurines were added to the Smurf mix of things, right? So he was becoming a little more popular with these characters. This would eventually garner the attention of the United States. Now, this is where the famous cartoon that we all grew up with, as I like to say, comes into play. The U.S. animation studio and production company called Hanna-Barbera, which I'm sure that you have heard of, would eventually lead to the creation of a Saturday morning animated series beginning in 1981, where just about every Generation Xer, like I was saying, grew up with. Peugeot served as the story supervisor for this series. So he actually worked hand in hand when this series, The Smurfs in the 1980s, broke into the United States, right? And suddenly, I'm going to tell you, folks, everything was Smurfy. Everybody was speaking Smurf language, right? Dolls and figurines were everywhere. They were huge, very popular. I can remember running down to the store and getting Smurf stuff. I was a little kid. Smurfs were huge, popular. Some of that stuff, I'm going to tell you, from back in the 80s is worth a fortune now. So you need to look in your closets if you're a Generation Xer and you grew up with the Smurfs and you had Smurf collectibles. You need to check that stuff out. You may end up on like the Traveling Whatever show where you find out that the little stuffed animal Papa Smurf you got's worth $1 gazillion, right? Anywho, I digress again. The Smurfs community, let's talk about the Smurfs, in and of themselves. Their community generally takes the form of a cooperative, sharing, and kind environment who live in mushroom houses based on the principle that each Smurf has something they're good at and can offer to the good of the Smurfy community. You don't see that anywhere else in this world, do you? So there you go. Papa Smurf, who is the one in red, the red outfit, he's the leader of the community, and the other Smurfs are generally named after their apparent personality disposition. And I'm going to tell you right now, folks, this was done on purpose by Hanna-Barbera. This was a direct rebuttal of sorts to Disney's Seven Dwarfs, okay? Makes sense. Make no mistake about it. This was a direct rebuttal, like I said, to the Seven Dwarfs, these Smurfs having their own personality, their own issues, if you will, and their own thing that they brought to the community. Now, here comes Gargamel. Everybody remembers Gargamel, the Wizard of the Forest, and the main antagonist of the Smurfs. He was the sworn enemy of the Smurfs. He was not Smurfy. He was evil. The main goals, his main goals, were to destroy, eat, and transform Smurfs into gold. So there you go. That was his purpose in life. He also had a cat named Azrael. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that. If I am, please forgive me. Who appeared frequently by Gargamel's side as he would chase down the Smurfs. There was also a Smurfette. It's one of the. I think Gargamel actually created Smurfette, who eventually became a Smurf on the Smurf side of things. Something to that effect. The Smurfs. Couple of Smurfy geek factoids. The Smurfs has appeared in video games made for most major game consoles. And this I did not know. This was an incredible factoid. It has an awesome, incredible run going back from 1982 to 2013, appearing in video games. I did not know that. I was into the Smurfs, and I did not know they were in video games like that. 2010 Smurf Village was an app. You know, they say there's an app for everything. There's an app for the Smurfs as well, apparently. I might have to check that out and look that up if it's still around. The 2011 movie that Hollywood did had an ensemble cast of Hollywood stars that you cannot believe everyone was in this movie. I had no idea. I remember when this movie came out, but I did not know that the likes of Neil Patrick Harris, Hank Azaria, Jeff Foxworthy, Julie Chang, Katy Perry, Sofia Vergara, I'm sure I'm pronouncing that if I am, forgive me, Jonathan Winters, George Lopez, Paul Reubens, and Kenan Thompson from Saturday Night Live. This is an amazing cast of people who are in this movie. I had no clue that was the case. It's a great kids movie to reminisce over the 1980s series. If you want to, for all you Generation Xers who have kids now, if you want to grab that this weekend and add it to your video catalog, check it out. Reminisce on some past memories. You can watch it with your kids and say, I used to be into the Smurfs. I'm cool like that. Absolutely. I'm Smurfy without question. All right, folks, let's have a terrific Tuesday and get it started with a brand new trivia question. Shall we? Let's shout. For October 25th, on this day, in 1929, a man named Albert B. Hall, Secretary of the Interior under President Harding, who would go down in history as the first individual to be convicted of a crime committed while a presidential cabinet member, is found guilty of accepting a $100,000 bribe in this scandal that was named after a naval oil reserve in Wyoming. I'm going to tell you this, folks, is the major clue. It was just mentioned in the previous trivia question. See if you can figure that out. Have a great day, folks. Thanks for all you do. Peace out. All right.